You're listening to the Jam Price Show, all about movies. And today my guest is Oscar Ignacio Jiménez. And we're going to be talking about his career as a cinematographer, but mostly about the film The Killing of Two Lovers, which is a fascinating film that premiered at Sundance and won some awards and was nominated for an Independent Spirit Award. So this is very exciting. Oscar, thank you for coming on the show. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Oh, thank you. It's such a pleasure, Jan. Thank you for having me. And I'm always, The Killing of Two Lovers holds a really special place in my heart. So I love talking about it.
Well, this is a film that came on my radar Sundance at Sundance 2020, and was very interested in the film. I always have been looking at it, and I've looked at it and watched it and was very fascinated by the film. But going back and rewatching it and really paying attention to the cinematography this time was, it's a little different experience when you're actually, it's one thing to watch a movie for the first time and you're not paying attention to everything that's going on. It's another to watch it again and really focus on the cinematography, especially since I was going to be talking to you. So there's some interesting choices in this film that you did, and I wanted to know how much of the choices were yours and how much were the directors. There's a lot of close-ups of the actors in this film, which makes the emotional tension even stronger, I believe, by doing it that way. Was that your choice or the directors, or a combination of both?
Yes, so definitely it's a collaboration between Robert and I. Robert, what I really appreciate about Robert is that he really respects the role of the cinematographer. He gave me a lot of room to make my own choices, which at first is really scary, because working with somebody at first, you want them to kind of almost hold your hand and just kind of really get into their head. But Robert and I have worked on a couple projects beforehand, so we've already built a shorthand. And so when it came to close-ups, he had mentioned always about doing a short film just on close-ups, and then and I think we took that concept and put it at the emotional climax of Nikki and David's moment in the film is their date night. So Clayne Crawford and Sepideh, both actors, and but apart from that, we tried to refrain from close-ups. It was more meant to have as a family album. The whole film was meant to be shot in wide shots, because in pre-production, Robert showed me a bunch of picture books, and the kind of like the underlying theme and that I kept seeing is that all these photographs were done in these wide kind of medium format style, and so I know that's when we were like, why not just shoot it like a family album, just a very old family album, and you're kind of going through, you're seeing kind of like the happy moments, but progressively just become like you start seeing like the emotional decay and the relationship between both characters. But the other thing I liked about shooting wide was that you kind of feel like a neighbor. You're always looking into this window of. It was shot in a small town, and when I think of small towns, I think about everybody knowing each other's business. And so you're kind of looking through your window and just like, oh, they're at it again. They're fighting. What's going on? So just kind of those visual motifs just really interested me. And the other reason is we had to shoot this film in 12 days. So shooting in wides was also a practical decision. And so all the elements kind of came together to create the visual look. And honestly, I'm glad that we were kind of put against the corner with budget and time, because it really stretches you. It really makes you kind of think about creatively, is okay, how can we can't go in for coverage. That's not going to be an option, because if we do it for one scene, then we have to do it for another scene. Otherwise, it's going to look it's not going to feel connected. So shooting wide and really saving our close-ups for those moments that really deserve it, which is at the climax of the film, and also what I consider is the emotional climax of David's kind of turning point, when he realizes that he's really losing his separated wife. And so and then everything else was kind of playing in mediums and wides.
Thank you.
Sorry.
No, that's great. You know, what's interesting, well, let's tell the audience what The Killing of Two Lovers is about so they know, and who the stars are and the name of the director so they know what we're talking about.
Yeah, so The Killing of Two Lovers is written and directed by Robert Machoyan. It stars Clayne Crawford as David, our protagonist, Sepideh Moafi as Nikki, the wife. And then Chris Coy, who plays Derek, who is almost like an antagonist, but he's the new boyfriend for Nikki. And so the story is about David, who is going through a separation, and he's trying to keep his family together. It's an agreed separation to take time away and kind of figure out their life choices. And he starts kind of going through this really mental deterioration just of his own his identity as a man, like especially in this small town, and what it means to be a father, what it means to be a husband, what it means to be a neighbor, and so all those things it analyzes masculinity.
Great description, perfect description of this
Thank you.
film. Clayne, isn't he a producer on this also?
He is, correct.
Yeah, and how do you pronounce the name of the lead actress again?
Clayne Crawford?
No, the lead actress, the actress.
Oh, Sepideh. We called her Sepideh Moafi.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sepideh, all right. I just saw her last night on Blackbird or Black Box on Apple, and what a different look she has in that film. Yeah.
She is such a talented actress.
She is.
I was just so blown away. I wish, to the point where I wish she had more screen time on The Killing of Two Lovers, but when she was there, she was powerful. She really made a presence. And so I'm so super excited to see her on Apple TV and just kind of really showing her chops.
Yeah.
I'm very excited to see her.
I was too, having just watched The Killing of Two Lovers the night before, and then watched Black Box on Apple TV the next night and see her. And yeah, she's powerful. She's a very powerful actress. She has a really strong presence. So I look forward to seeing her in many other things too. But this Black Box is really good, by the way, but that's another story. So
yeah, exactly right.
But this film, you said 12 days. You recorded it you filmed it in 12 days. Talk about that.
Man, it was a very stressful time in my life. Well, first of all, I went into it pretty naive. Like I've never filmed a feature film in my life, but I've done a bunch of shorts and in 1 or 2 days. So I understood the pace that has to go fast. What made it harder is that I was still in school. It was my last year in university and for my undergrad, and I didn't want to drop out because I was so close to graduating. So what I did is I took a bunch of my finals early, and then I still had to commute back and forth from school for finals. So that added like another stress to it. But you know what? I made it work. And after we finished the film, and I felt really good about it, I was like, okay, I can do anything after this. Like I've been through the trenches. There's nothing that can bother me. I mean, that's the famous last words, because I've still done other films with more time and it's still just as hard. So it was a nice realization that filmmaking is hard, but that's what I like about it, is that it's not a single note. You're always going to face new problems. You're always going to face personalities, but it's figuring it out how to overcome those problems that really get me curious with a team. Like the friendships made on sets are really cool.
That's great. Where did you film this?
We filmed in a small town called Kanash, Utah. It's about 2 hours south of where I live, which is in Salem, Utah. Kind of in the middle of nowhere. So it's the store that we shot in. It's probably like the busiest or their biggest shop in the whole entire town. They would have to travel about another half an hour to go to a Walmart. So it really has it was perfect for the film. It was perfect for what Robert was envisioning, just a very small town, everybody really close and tight knit. And he tried to kind of incorporate that with a little bit of the dialogue with other with background actors, how they just kind of greet each other and just in passing. So yeah, hopefully you get the sense of that too.
Yeah, I thought it was Utah. I used to live in Salt Lake City, And
Oh, okay.
yeah, I lived there for 7 years, and I thought it might be Utah when I looked at it.
Yeah, yeah.
And so yeah, and it was, just that little cover of snow, being cold was
Hmm.
perfect for this too. Yeah, so yeah, I'm very familiar with. Well, I'm not familiar with that area, but I am familiar with, Utah for sure. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
no, those mountains are a beautiful backdrop for just to kind of showcase the geography of the location. So yeah.
you had a nice canvas to work with
Hmm.
those beautiful mountains and the skies. I mean, there were some
Hmm.
beautiful shots, that were just framed with the mountains and the beauty of the clouds and the skies, and yet it was, it wasn't about just showing because you didn't have a lot of time and not a lot of
You're right.
celluloid to work with, just to
Right.
kind of set the scene with that, but that it was a good backdrop for the actors to play against the beauty of that area
Yeah.
too. Very much so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a nice juxtaposition. Hmm.
It was. What made you decide to become a cinematographer to begin with?
Honestly, I was one of those people that the stories that were I took an elective class and I had no idea you could even study film as a major. I went to school. I mean, growing up, I wanted to go to culinary school, and then I got a scholarship to go to business school at BYU, and then it was I liked it, but it wasn't like fulfilling. And so I took an elective just to kind of get an easy A, but it wasn't an easy class. It challenged me. It made me think films in a new way, and I started asking questions to the professors, like, okay, so what are the roles, like what's involved in filmmaking? It's like, well, you should talk to the film department. I was like, there's a film department? And so because I was taking this class through the humanities, and and uh, and I met some students, and I was invited on set, and I was always attracted to the like the visual part of filmmaking, which is a visual medium. So cinematography was the one that clicked the most, and so I really threw myself into it. I'm kind of an obsessive, and once I find something that I really like, I just throw myself and I just study and analyze and ask questions, and so which helped me out, because then I was able to kind of get a pretty good momentum, and I was able to shoot a lot of films while at school that helped me to build a portfolio, and it made me ready. It made me be ready when I was at the right place in the right time, finding Robert, and I think that's kind of, I don't know. I just yeah. So all like the stars aligned, and I was able to shoot this film.
That's wonderful. And there you are. You went to BYU, which is right in
Hmm.
the backyard of Sundance Resort
Right.
and the film
Exactly.
festival. And then how did it feel to have your film being shown at the Sundance Film Festival? I
You
mean,
know,
that had to be, here you are having gone to school there, and you know, as I said, being in the backyard of Sundance. How did that feel when you actually premiered your film at Sundance Film Festival in 2020?
that was such a surreal experience. The year before, Robert and I had a short film that got accepted into Sundance, but we've always like the prize is always to get a feature there. And so when we did The Killing of Two Lovers, I saw the first cut, and I was like, oh, we have something. This is really good. And he submitted it, and then when he told me that we got into Sundance, I don't know, I can't even describe the feeling. I just know that it's probably one of the happiest moments of my life, to just be like, okay, this is very surreal. And then since I was still at school, like, it was kind of cool to feel like almost like this celebrity. You're like, what? You're at Sundance, and you haven't even graduated. Like, I don't know what to say. Like, it almost feels like a fluke. But I don't know. It's one of those things where my really grounded friends, like, you need to be proud of this. Like, really, like, it's because you're talented. It's not because it's an accident. And so, but Robert has, I mean, I really owe a lot to Robert. He has a vision. He knows what he wants, and he's able to just just create these amazing, like, really fairly simple stories on paper, but just kind of the complexity that comes on screen is really fascinating to me.
How did you meet Robert?
It was my last year. It was my second to last year at school, and he was a new professor at BYU through their photography department. And since I was starting to see that I'm getting closer to graduate and I want to transition more into practical work, I was asking around like, hey, is there any experience I can get from outside, or any professors that are willing to get a little bit of extra help? And he was one of the names that came up. And so immediately we clicked. We shared the same, I don't know, philosophies in filmmaking, and kind of like also the same, we like the same films. And it started as a friendship, and then he called me to ask me if I was interested in shooting his short film. And it kind of, and then from there, it kind of was just kind of like the, you know, how they say, the rest is history. We did that one, and then a couple of months later, he gave me the script for The Killing of Two Lovers. And even to now, he only lives about a half an hour away from me, so I see him pretty regularly. But he's always busy because he's still teaching, but he's still writing and developing films too. So,
have you worked with him since The Killing of Two Lovers?
We just finished. We had another film that premiered at Tribeca 2 months ago. It's called The Integrity of Joseph Chambers. So we shot that at the tail end of COVID in Alabama. Clayne Crawford was our lead, and the producer as well. And it's about a novice hunter who goes to the woods, and an accident happens, and he kind of deals with this emotional moral dilemma. Does he turn himself in, or does he do the right thing? And so you kind of see this, it's mostly Clayne out in the woods, but his performance is great, where he just, you see the pain, but you also see like those justifications. So you as an audience member, you're like, oh, I mean, nobody's gonna know, just it's okay, just walk away. Or but I don't know, I like it because it really kind of puts it makes you also think about what you would do. And so, but yeah, it premiered in Tribeca, and it did pretty well. I was very happy with it too.
It's okay. So here you are working with the same with Clayne Crawford again, and Robert. And you know, it's always nice. I because I've been doing this for a long time. I find so many different filmmakers who have their team together that they like working with, because there's a shorthand and they can figure it out. Well, again, you look at Spielberg and Scorsese. They always have their team together too that they enjoy working with. Yes, I saw that. So it was well received when you were at Tribeca.
Yeah, I didn't have a chance to go to Tribeca because I was shooting another movie in Japan during that time. And but like I was texting Robert, like, hey, how's it going? And I was getting live updates, and just kind of seeing the reviews really made me happy. Just because I wanted to feel the presence of the audience. That's the same thing with The Killing of Two Lovers. Like, you hear the reactions and emotions of the audience, and you're like, okay, this is all the emotional beats are landing what we were trying to do. And it sounded like the same thing happened at Tribeca, so it felt like a success.
Oh, good. I you know, that's always nice to hear. And I like Clayne Crawford. He's an interesting actor. He really is. He's got he's appealing. He's very appealing.
Right. For sure, of course.
So, yeah, if somebody want to keep watching and go, okay, what's he gonna do next?
Yeah, of course, always.
For sure. What is the film that you were just did in Japan? What was that one? Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I can talk about it. So it's about a Japanese businessman who so it was shot in two places. So we shot in Montana for the first 2/3, and then the last third was shot in Japan. And so it's about a Japanese businessman who comes to Montana to essentially remodel this new business brand for this cattle ranch. And eventually he just kind of just starts noticing that he's too obsessed with success that he loses himself and loses a bunch of his friends. And so you kind of, the story unfolds that he just starts kind of realizing what's important in his life. And what I really appeals to me about the film is that like 80% of the dialogue is all in Japanese. And so so most of the time it's like I don't understand what's going on, but everything is being told in the faces. And that really intrigues me is like you were saying earlier, the communication of close-ups is very powerful, and it kind of translates to a bunch of audiences. So I'm curious to see the edit. And so yeah, we just wrapped about a couple of weeks ago, so it's getting edited. I got notes from the director that he's very happy where it's at right now. So I'm curious to see how it all turns out.
What's the name of that film and who stars in that one?
The working title is called Tokyo Cowboy, and the director is Mark Marriott, and producer is Brigham Taylor.
Interesting. Okay, we'll have to look for that one
Yeah.
when it comes out. For you, what when you're looking at the script and you're deciding what to do, what's your process? What is your process in deciding how you're going to shoot a film?
Um, that's a really good question. So I think it always begins with the story. Is like, do I connect with the story? Do I connect with the actors? The characters. Do I find moments in the story that really kind of also parallel with my own life? And if I can kind of check off most of those boxes, then I feel like it kind of intrigues me to talk to the director to think about their vision, and because sometimes you read something, you interpret it one way, and then you talk with a director and you're like, oh, we do not see the same film. Like, it's, even though it's written on paper, it's not the same film. And so and then so it's what I was told is it's as much as the interview process myself for them, I should also be interviewing the director as they're also interviewing myself, and I know that concept has always clicked, and I do ask pretty hard questions sometimes where I like, I don't mean to come off rude, or it's just I really want to know what's deep in there, and sometimes I feel like I've gotten better at it, but it's a good way for directors to be like, oh, I haven't thought about that, maybe I should think about it, and I think when that also shows kind of like this sincerity from another production head, that they really care about the movie itself, and they've been thinking about it, that they ask good questions. And so yeah, it's a lot of communication back and forth, and just making sure that we're all on the same page to making the same film.
Yeah, I think that's got to be very, very important, because I guess it
Mm-hmm.
would be terrible to start doing a film and find out you're on different pages and you're
Oh,
not, not in sync. And that would make
yeah.
the job much more difficult and lots more tension, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, of course. But I mean, it's that's why I've been told that working on the movie is kind of like a marriage, and so I feel like the interview process is always that the dating part. So you're always just making sure that it's the right fit.
Good analogy. I like that. Oscar, that's a good one. Well, it sounds you're really haven't been out of school that long, and it sounds like you're pretty busy. I mean, it sounds like you're doing one film after another. I mean, that's got to be very exciting for you.
It is. I'm very I feel very blessed to be where I'm at with at this moment of career. And like you said, it's only been about 3 years now. I feel like COVID year doesn't count, so I say 2 years. It's been 2 years since I've been out of school. But yeah, I've been very lucky and fortunate to have a community that really has helped me out, and they resonate with the films I've been making and shooting. So yeah.
When you're reading a script, how do you decide which films you want to work on and which films you don't?
Hmm. Let's see. So I guess I'm drawn to human emotion. If I can feel real human, like just honesty and just tension and drama, happiness. Like if it takes me on this emotional roller coaster, then it feels real life to me. I feel like the films that kind of just what I've been taught and what I've been trained is that if I don't feel anything within the first 15 pages, then it's probably not a good fit. It's a good indicator that it still needs to be reworked, or it's not the film for me. And so I give a film about 15 to 20 pages before I'm just like, okay, it's not going to work out.
It's like when we're reading a novel, it's the same thing, or even watching a movie sometimes, you give
Yeah.
it 20, 25 minutes and you go, well, okay, it's not grabbing me. I guess well, nowadays, because we have all these films we can watch,
Yeah.
on our big screen TVs, and it's easier to say, no, I'm not going to stay with this,
Yeah.
stick with this any longer than I need to, because
Right.
it's not grabbing me right away. It's important to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the things I liked about The Killing of Two Lovers, because you do get very involved in it very quickly in the
Mm-hmm.
story, and it's a really wonderful film. So I ask that everybody, you can seek it out. It's on Hulu right now, the Killing of Two Lovers, so you can watch it there. Where else can people watch some of the other films that you've done, Oscar?
You know what? That's a good question. I feel like a lot of these films, like Integrity of Joseph Chambers, is still in the festival run, and the other film that I've finished shooting is still editing. So I will give you an update once those comes out.
All
Yeah.
right.
So,
Sounds
yeah.
great. Well, I wish you much more success with your career. I mean, you're on a great trajectory right now. And as I said, you were nominated for an Independent Spirit Award with your first film. That's pretty amazing. That is very, very amazing. So
Yeah. Thank
congratulations
you.
on that. And congratulations on your wonderful career. It's a pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you so much, Jen. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. If you have missed any of the Jan Price shows all about movies, you can go to my website, thejanpriceshow.com, or anywhere where you listen to your favorite podcasts, the iHeart Podcast Network, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. When you're at YouTube, please subscribe and like us there. And also follow us on Instagram and Twitter at The Jan Price Show. Thank you all for listening.